I would start taking some questions from the audience. There are plenty of you here who have some. Alex Anthony is in the audience. He's the guy to find if you have one. And Alex, I believe you have our first question of the night.
I do, Kevin. I have Douglas from Caldwell, New Jersey. And Douglas has a question for anybody on the panel up there.
Hi, thank you. Obviously, going into this year, we've got a bunch of, different questions at different positions and things. And obviously, we've got a lot of uncertainty to what kind of directions. Without tipping your hat to any specific methods or people that you might be targeting, what exactly are the main or the number one priorities, filling positions, and the directions that you see the team going for, looking for, going into meetings and moving forward?
Well, let me take an initial shot at that. All of you here are season ticket holders. So none of what I'm about to say or what anybody here has to say is going to be a big surprise to you. If you just go around the diamond, I think that going into 2012, would we like to upgrade our catching situation somewhat? Yeah. Second base, is that going to be Ruben Tejada? Is it going to be somebody else? Does Ruben have to move to short? How is Lucas Duda going to do in right field? I mean, there are a number of different questions. Where is Murphy going to play? The one thing I'll say about our position players is that, and nobody's brought up and we haven't talked about yet, the reconfiguration of the outfield. It's coming. But okay, then I'll wait. I won't make any comment yet. But I think from an offensive standpoint, our team's going to be fun to watch. If we can avoid some of the freakish injuries that we had last year, I think the team offensively is going to be fun to watch. The bullpen needs help. I mean, we've admitted that, and all of you are nodding your heads, so you were here most of last year. We've got a solid but I'd say unspectacular starting rotation, but Johan's coming back. So there are a lot of different things that we would like to be able to do, and there's plenty of room for improvement. But I would say this: with the exception of Jose, there's not anybody on our team last year that had a career year. There's plenty of upside in some of the players that we have. So I think that I look at last season, I look at 2012. I think that we could be an exciting team to watch in 2012. We should be. 2011 was for me personally a disappointment. I thought we'd be better. We started poorly, we ended poorly, and we all know that first and last impressions are the most important. And we didn't exceed in either of those two instances. But overall, with the manager, Terry Collins, who did a super job for us last year, well deserved. And given the fact that we had injuries, the emergence of some young players who actually did a quite commendable job for us, including guys like Lucas Duda, I think we're going to be fun to watch next year. But you're right to say that we've got a number of issues we have to address. We're in the process of doing that, we'll see where we are as we start spring training. But I'm looking forward to 2012 and think that we will be just as optimistic going into next season as I was last. And I think I'll say this: if we hadn't traded Frankie, we would have finished over 500. But that's another story. So,
we'll go back to Alex in a second, but I wanted to follow up because I'm sure people in here are curious about Johan. John, let me ask you, in terms of, is the team expecting him to be ready and have a completely normal spring training? I understand anything can happen, but right now, is that the way it looks with him?
Yeah, once we figured that he wasn't going to be ready for this year, the whole goal was to get him headed into the off-season feeling that he's going to come into spring training ready to go. As you all probably know, we got him up to where he was pitching in minor league games. Sandy and I saw him as late as instructional league. He's feeling great. We got him mentally in the place where we wanted him, and he's going to come in, ready to pitch. Now, clearly, when you have surgery, there's always, some questions, but I think we accomplished the goal of he's coming in and ready to compete and and that's his full mindset right now. So we're excited because I think we're going to have Johan back.
Gotcha. That would certainly be a big boost. Let's go back to Alex for another question.
All right, Kevin, I've got Robert from New Jersey. Question for Sandy.
Sandy, but don't franchise players basically pay for themselves anyway? I remember when Piazza was signed, there's no question in my mind, his 7 years were paid for by putting people in the seats. Now, won't that be similar with Jose?
Good question. Good question. Well, let me try to answer it in a couple of different ways. First of all, let me answer it directly. Do franchise players pay for themselves? I think it depends on how the team plays. If the franchise player is contributing to a winning team, he pays for himself. If a franchise player doesn't contribute to a winning team, he doesn't pay for himself. And I'll give you a good example. Alex Rodriguez in Texas. Not in New York, in Texas. Does Alex Rodriguez pay for himself in New York? He probably does. He didn't in Texas because the team didn't win. It wasn't any good. So what we have to do is, we have to make sure that the pillars of our team, the core players of our team, are contributing to a winning situation. They're not just entertainers. They're actually competitors who are adding to, the equation of a winning team. So that's one answer. The second answer is this. Believe me, we don't sit up here and just do X's and O's and numbers and statistics and so forth and make decisions about who's going to be on the team and who's not. We do take into account what the player represents to the franchise and to the fans. Because look, there's a relationship between you guys coming to the ballpark and our ability to pay these players. But there's also an emotional tie between you and the players. Not every player. You don't care about every player on the team, right? You only care about a handful. I mean, this is human nature. There are 4 or 5 guys you care about. And if we do something with those players, that's something that, not that you're necessarily unhappy with, but, you care about. The other 15 guys on the team, 20 guys on the team, if we change them around, you could care less. It's all about the winning team. But we definitely take into account the fact that a certain player has a particular stature. And so I can give you that assurance, at least. But everything is within the framework of a winning team. That's where we have to get. That's what's going to make you all happy, ultimately, is if we have a winning team.
Alex, let's go back to you.
Hey, I've got Brenda.
No more questions from New Jersey, okay? These are tough.